many who see the big lie. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. That's the theme of the day. You won't be trusted anymore. Hi, everybody. This is vonKleist. These are the WTF reports. And today is the 11th of March, 2025. And there's a lot of people getting really pissed off. A lot of people. Yours truly, too. I'm just looking at all the stuff that's going on, and I'm saying, and like many people are saying, they're saying, WTF! What the heck is going on in this country? What the heck is going on in this country? People are still posting about what happened last week when the president had his address to Congress, and the ripple effect is absolutely amazing. I mean, there are so many people, many of them say, look, I was a Democrat, I was blue-haired, I was a Trump hater, the whole nine yards, but after what happened last week, it's made me stop and think about things and take another look. And then they say, oh, my God, I realize I've been on the wrong side the whole time. And the Democrat Party has completely changed from what it was 20 or 30 years ago, from being an anti-war party to the war hawks. And that's what's happened. And a lot of people, like I said, they're jumping ship. It's coming out all over the place. Well, you know what? There are a lot of other people that are posting on a different issue. Where are the arrests? Where are the arrests? Okay, for example, if there's a guy that goes in and he robs a bank, and he runs out the front door and he's running down the street, and the police catch him. They catch him red-handed. He's got the money right there in his hand. So what do? Do they start an inquiry? Do they put together a panel to discuss whether or not there was a crime? You arrest the guy. You take him, you put him in jail, you charge him with a crime, and then hopefully he will go to court in a speedy way. It's supposed to have, the wheels of justice don't turn very quickly in this country, but you're supposed to have a speedy trial. But in this country, if you're plugged in, if you're part of the government, or some big, philanthropical organization, Bill Gates. No, they don't do that. They don't do that. No. They have to have an inquiry. I have to put together some sort of a panel. They have to have, if they're talking about impeachment, well, they have to have an impeachment inquiry. No. The people of this country are getting so PO. They're saying, where are the arrests? We've got them red-handed. This whole thing about the Epstein files, okay? Pam Bondi was supposed to come out with the Epstein files last week, and that didn't happen. It was a big nothing burger. Oh, they had to defer it to the Southern District of New York, to the FBI office, and that guy quit. Where are the arrests? Why aren't these places being stormed by U.S. Marshals? That's just one thing. And now the Biden crime family. My gosh. It's insane what's going on. Let me see. Where is it here? Auto pen. Yeah, the whole issue about the auto pen. All these signatures, Joe Biden's signatures, supposedly, ostensibly, apparently, obviously, were not done by Joe Biden. They were auto penned. Document after document after every single one of those pardons has the exact same signature. Not only that, but he wasn't even in town when those things got signed. Here, listen to this. Don't want to do that. I almost erased it. Here it is.
But if you look at these presidential pardons, they need to be signed with a wet signature. They're not. They're signed with an auto pen. So what should happen to them is they should get tossed out. And I think as we continue this investigation, we're going to figure out who was actually making the calls when to apply the auto pen, use the auto pen. Towards the end of last year, Biden's golfing in the Virgin Islands. Pardons are coming out with his signature on it and a marking saying this document was signed in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Those two things don't work together.
No, they don't. As we know, you can't be in two places at the same time, but go on.
We're going to have a lot more. Obviously, since this kind of went viral over the weekend, we've had a lot of legal experts reach out. A lot of important people are feeding us new information. We're using all sorts of technology to go through these signatures, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg.
Just the tip of the iceberg. And this is going on across the board, folks. Now, I was mentioning on yesterday's show, I lived in Argentina for a little while, and at one point in the city that I was in San Rafael, they decided arbitrarily to jack up the electric rates by 50%. And the people took to the streets with pots and pans, and thousands of people descended upon the very center of town. They shut down, the main intersection this way and that way. It was completely shut down. People out there banging and banging and banging and banging and banging, and they would not stop until they said, okay, we'll back off. But the people here in this country, no. March Madness is coming up. I can't miss that game. Oh, my favorite TV show's on. I can't miss that. There's a new movie. I got to catch that. I tell you, America, if you want to find out who's responsible for how badly things are going in this country, you need to go look in the mirror. People need to get off of their big, fat, pimple-covered butts and get involved. And this is why I'm saying I'm a little ticked off today. This whole all the stuff that's coming out about Biden and his family receiving millions and millions and millions of dollars through setting up NGOs and passing bucks around. And, I played the clips yesterday about, the quid pro quo with Biden. That was all, by the way, U.S. aid money. And again, I can't understand all these people that are out there protesting against Musk. You people are flat out stupid. That's like, going back to the bank robber. The police caught the bank robber, and you want to accuse the police. This is insanity. Treason has been going on in this country wholesale for a long, long time. I've been watching this for 3 decades. And under the Biden administration, we had so much treason going on. Let's just look at the border crisis. Look at the border crisis. Kamala Harris was supposed to be the border czar. And Alejandro Mayorkas, he was a Homeland Security. Okay, yeah, what kind of Homeland Security? Did you know that Alejandro Mayorkas, before he became Secretary of Homeland Defense, he was a board member on the HIAS, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. And who do they do? Well, they had offices and encampments all through Central America to help all of these illegal immigrants. They gave them maps, they gave them food, they gave them supplies, they gave them support to help them to get across the border. That is treason. That's treason. There's no way around it. It's in the Constitution that it's your responsibility to defend the borders. I don't know where it is. I could pull it up here, but we know it's there. That's what the whole point of Homeland Security is all about. That's what the whole point of having borders is all about. It's insanity. But no, they didn't do that. Why? Why do you suppose they did that? Well, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure that out. They wanted to bolster the Democrat Party. They knew doggone well that all these immigrants are going to come in and they're going to vote Democrat because of all the promises that were made. And yeah, they get their debit cards, they get their phone, they get free food, they get put up in luxury hotels in New York City, thanks to not just U.S. aid, but FEMA. This is treason going across the board. Yeah, Kamala Harris, yeah, she's guilty too, And now we're hearing, Stacey Abrams now, she's got her fingers in the pie to a couple of $2 billion. And AOC, Tom Homan is really ticked off at AOC because she's trying to help the immigrants avoid deportation. Oh, by the way, not only that, but she had an illegal immigrant working for her. After a couple of months, there was another NGO and another couple of $1 billion went into that rabbit hole. There's just treason everywhere. Everywhere. And who's behind it? Who's funding all of this stuff? Well, getting back to this whole thing about the border, before I leave that particular subject, do you remember this? Here's a couple of clips. Here's Biden followed by President Trump.
But American border problems won't be fixed until Congress acts. If we don't pass my comprehensive immigration reform.
Okay, he says, we won't solve the problem till Congress acts. Bull crap!
At least pass my plan to provide the equipment and officers to secure the border.
Yeah, please support my plan. We need Congress. It's those Republicans. It's the Republicans' fault that the border's wide open. You're a liar. A big round
the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
He's right. He's right. I don't care if you got Trump derangement syndrome or not. He was right. All it took was a new president. But it was all smokescreen. I can't do anything about it. We need Congress to... No, you're a liar. You're a liar. And, I don't even know where to start. It's been going on for so long. And then, let me get into this whole thing about more treason. You want more treason? How about all of these representatives? I played an audio clip. Well, actually, I didn't play that audio clip yesterday, but you heard about it. A reporter for the Stu Peters Network was in the halls of Congress going up to members of Congress asking a simple question, a real simple question. Do you support America first or Israel first? And so many of them that they just stopped and they turned and walked away. A non-answer is an answer, and it's a very loud and clear answer. And not only that, but even staunch Republicans like Chip Roy or Harriet Hagman, they're standing by Israel. What the heck for? I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me if they're our greatest ally, why are they the greatest ally? And just the simple fact that I would ask that question, there are people out there that say, oh, you're an anti-Semite, you hate Jews, No, that's got nothing to do with it. You cannot serve two masters. It just doesn't work that way. You either serve your country or you don't. And all these people that are in Congress or the Senate or in government in general, the ones that have dual citizenship, I'm sorry, but you need to go. You need to go right away. Oh, you're an anti-Semite. No, don't give me that crap. No, I'm not going to go there. And I'm disgusted with all of the alternative news networks as well. I mean, we could expect to get horse hockey thrown at us and blue Kool-Aid thrown at us from the mainstream networks, CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox 2. Yeah, I could expect it from them. But OAN, Real America's Voice, Newsmax, NTD, all of these alternative networks, God bless them for showing up. We need more voices out there, no doubt about it. And I agree with most of the stuff that they're putting out there. But the big issue, the big issue right now is the genocide, the extermination, the annihilation of human beings in Palestine. Now, that does not make me pro-Hamas. That's got nothing to do with it. That's what the mainstream does. They will hook you together and they'll say, oh, you're an anti-Semite, pro-Hamas demonstrator. No. Number one, and I'm going to say this until we all throw up, the Israelis are not the Semites. Johns Hopkins University did an ancestry study, found 97.5 of Israelis are from Eastern Europe or from North America. They are not the Semites. 80% of the Palestinians tested positive for ancient Semitic heritage. Can't find the words here. You know what I mean. So the Palestinians are the Semites. Period. Done deal. That's a fact. Not only that, you want another fact? Is that you cannot do an ancestry study if you live in Israel. No, they don't want you to find out what your roots are, where your blood takes you. Because it ain't going to leave you there in the Middle East. It's going to take you up to what used to be Khazaria. Khazaria. Something to research, folks. Yeah, people are finding out. It's called the Great Noticing. People are finding out about the history of the Khazarians. And I'm not going to call them Jews because they have basically taken over the identity. And that's what they do, what the Khazarians do. Do some research, folks. And that's what the noticing is all about. And again, how many of those members of Congress that turn their back to the very simple question, America first or Israel first? Which is it? Come on, give it up. Which is it? And they scurry away, or they come up with some excuse why Israel is our greatest ally. And I can't figure out what that good reason is. Just because we want a presence in the Middle East. The United States has what, 280, I think it is, 280 something, 250, I forget how many bases the U.S. has all over the world and in the Middle East. But Israel is the jewel. Why? What is Israel doing for the United States? What does the United States do for Israel? We send them billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. They have free education. They have free health care. They got all kinds of bennies. And yet we're stuck here, trying to find a second nickel so we have two of them to rub together. And let's not even talk about the poor souls in western North Carolina. Let's not talk about all the people in Maui who lost their homes. Let's not talk about the people in Los Angeles, or let's not talk about the people in Paradise, California. And all of those places burned down. Oh, and now there's a big fire out there on Long Island. Yeah, out in the Hamptons. How convenient. And again, let's check your history, folks. Remember, AIPAC was established in 1963, and before that, it was called the American Zionist Committee for Public Affairs. The keyword, Zionist. Well, now they're trying to couple the word Zionist with Jew, so that if you are out there protesting Zionism, which is political dogma, it's not a religion, but if you're out there protesting Zionism, you're an anti-Semite. This is how they're couching it. They're just lying and lying and lying. Oh, man. Anyway, so now the big thing that's on the table right now, Trump has been talking about pulling out of the WHO. And there's a doggone good reason for it. As a matter of fact, Dr. David Martin, who is very well known on the world stage, he's one of many doctors around the world who have been screaming from the rooftops about these vaccines, about the kill shot, about the bioweapon, whatever you want to call it. And I have a clip here that I'd like to share with you from a recent presentation that he had in regard to the World Health Organization.
I'm done talking about COVID, and I'm done talking about SARS-CoV-2, and I'm done for a very simple reason. For 110 years, we, the people of the world, have been lied to. We're a group of very small number of criminal industrial conspirators decided to subordinate the entirety of the human population for the purpose of their sinister plans to enrich themselves while impoverishing and killing the rest of humanity. And I'm done being polite. We've long passed polite. When the words acceptable death rate become part of an industrial norm, we have lost the plot of humanity. And that's not my words. Those were the words of the World Health Organization and of Pfizer and of Moderna when they were given the authorization to begin the process of killing human beings in the interest of advancing their goals.
That's exactly right. And it's not just David Martin. There are people all over the world that are screaming about this. And down in Australia, they've been doing studies about this, looking what went on in Africa with all these vaccination campaigns. The long-term result has been. Here, give a listen to this one here.
What if I told you that a vaccine was secretly laced with a hormone to cause infertility was given to hundreds of thousands of women and girls without their knowledge? What if I told you that a vaccine that was banned in the West for killing girls was pushed on African girls, making them 10 times more likely to die? And what if I told you that the man behind all of this, funding it, promoting it, has just had his legal immunity stripped in Kenya? This isn't a conspiracy theory. This did happen, and the evidence is undeniable. Bill Gates, through the WHO, has funded programs that have been exposed as dangerous, unethical, and deadly. And it's time the world started asking some very serious questions. In 2013, the World Health Organization launched a neonatal tetanus campaign in Kenya, claiming to protect newborns from deadly infections. But doctors started noticing something very strange. Many women in this vaccination campaign could no longer carry a pregnancy to term. Suspicious, these doctors took these vials and took them for testing in independent labs. The vaccines contained HCG hormones, a hormone vital in pregnancy, chemically bonded to the tetanus vaccine. These vaccines weren't just about tetanus. So what were they for?
We cannot afford to trust WHO anymore, Your Excellency. In 2014-2015, WHO brought tetanus eradication campaign in our country. The vaccine that was used is a different type of a tetanus vaccine that is a fertility regulating vaccine, where they take tetanus and combine it with a hormone called human chorionic gonadotropin that supports pregnancy. And when we inject a woman with that vaccine, she produces antibodies against that hormone and therefore is rendered sterile. We are noticing an increase in the number of infertility cases among young couples who you examine and they are normal but cannot get children, or couples who are losing 3, 4, 5 pregnancies before they can carry any pregnancy to term. We were able to expose this, and we have even published a paper that is available.
But it doesn't stop there. Let's talk more about the DTP vaccine, the world's most popular vaccine thanks to Bill Gates and the WHO. In the 1980s, the vaccine was banned in the United States and Europe after studies showed it caused brain damage and even death. While it was replaced with a safer version in these countries, the older, deadlier versions were still being distributed to children in Africa. When Danish scientists studied more than 30 years of vaccination records in Africa, they found a chilling discovery. Girls who received the DTP vaccine were 10 times more likely to die than children that were unvaccinated. But these girls weren't dying from tetanus, diphtheria or pertussis. They were dying from anemia, pneumonia, dysentery and the diseases that the vaccine left them more vulnerable to. This isn't just about bad science. It's a pattern of unethical experiments on vulnerable populations. Vaccines that were deemed too dangerous for the West, pushed in Africa under the guise of philanthropy. And who's funding this? Bill Gates, the same man whose foundation controls much of the World Health Organization's budget. The same man who just lost his immunity for prosecution in Kenya. Knowledge is power, and this is why we must question the narrative, the motives, and demand accountability. Bill Gates and the WHO must answer for these actions, and we, the people, must stand together for transparency and justice. If you believe the world needs to know the truth, share this video, and let's make this conversation so it can't be silenced.
That's right. Let's make it so it can't be silenced. But there are so many people out there that have had it up to their eyeballs with, these campaigns for forced vaccinations.
Your agenda scene. Take your big vaccine and get out of here.
Take that big vaccine and stick it where the sun don't shine. All right, welcome back to the WTF Reports. Coming up on 30 minutes past the hour, just about there. Oh, no, let's call it 29. I'm just looking at the big hand and the little hand. And if you're feeling the same way that I am, well, then welcome to the club. A lot of us are very frustrated and we're very upset because of the fact that we're seeing all this crime, all this blatant treason, just an insane treason going on. And so many of our elected officials are goose-stepping along with the globalist agenda, the WHO, the NATO, the UN, the whole thing. And people have had it up to their eyeballs with it. And before, as a matter of fact, I have a guest in the wings. And before I bring him on, I'm going to bring him on anyway. Daniel New. Haven't talked to you in a long time.
Caught me off guard.
Caught you off guard?
Yeah, I'm over here in the wings drinking coffee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wanted to bring you on because, of course, there's a lot of this talk about the U.S. withdrawing from the WHO. And you may recall, I'm sure you're well aware, that this last summer there was an issue about the WHO wanting every country to sign on and agree that if they declare a pandemic or some global medical emergency, that the WHO would make mandatory policy for all the member nations. You heard about that, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so what's your take on that? Did that ever get signed?
I don't know if it got signed, but I know that when the USA withdrew from WHO, that made it null and void for us, and of course for any other country that refuses to sign it. I'm sure there's some that will not sign that.
Well, we're finding out now that most of what Biden's signature on is is going to be called null and void if they find out that it was all auto-penned and he didn't sign it. Oh, that's going to be a huge can of worms. Anyway, before we get rolling down that road, first of all, I'm glad to have you on. You and I go back 3 decades in October it will be 3 decades, 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't believe the time has gone by. And of course, the issue at that time was what happened to your son, Michael. So if you could, for the listeners out there that are not familiar with the case of Michael New, could you give him a thumbnail sketch of what happened back in October 10th of 1995?
You betcha. Because I'm sure we have a new generation, as it says in the book of Exodus. There arose in Egypt a generation that knew not Joseph. We have a generation that has never heard of Michael New. And to them, 30 years may well be becoming ancient history. It's certainly history. And it was a big topic in 1995-96, as you well know. Michael was just a regular kid, joined the Army, looking for a little bit of better education and an opportunity to serve. And he was trained to be a medic in infantry. He joined thinking he would see the world, and they sent him to Fort Bliss in Texas. So, for a Texan, that wasn't really exciting. But then they sent him over to Saudi Arabia, where he did get some medical and some unofficial combat experience. And then they sent him to Germany. He said Arabia was a lot like Fort Bliss, Texas, with camels. So he was glad to get to Germany, and he was looking forward to his next deployment. And so they told him, we're going to go into Macedonia. And he was looking forward to that until he found
connected to Dave's MacBook Pro
deployment, and you'll be wearing a blue beret or blue helmet, depending. You'll wear a UN scarf. You remove the U.S. patch, the American patch flag, from your right shoulder, put it over on the left, and then you put a United Nations patch on your right shoulder, the UN logo.
Dave's MacBook Pro disconnected.
I'll take a transfer because I'm not interested in wearing your blue hat. And they laughed at him and said, look, you don't get to pick and choose your deployments. You're in the Army. You just go where you're told.
So let me just jump in there and clear something up here. Basically, Michael took an oath to the United States Constitution. He did not take an oath to the UN Charter. And when he was given that uniform, of course, the senior shoulder is the right shoulder, and that's where you see the United States flag on all military. But the United States flag was removed from the right shoulder and moved over to the left shoulder, and the UN patch was now on the right shoulder. So they were basically putting him in a uniform that declared that he was taking orders from the UN. That's the way I understand it.
The left shoulder is a unit patch.
Right.
And the United States became a unit in a United Nations deployment, yes.
Right. So the point is that the United States would then be subservient to the UN, and because, God bless you, you homeschooled your boy, and he understood what the Uniform Code of Military Justice is, and so therefore, correct me if I'm wrong, if he had worn that uniform, he would be out of uniform. He would be violating his oath to the Constitution. Is that correct?
That's our belief. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So he took a stand, and what happened?
Well, they said, look, you can either go on this deployment or you can go to prison. That's your two choices. They threatened him with Leavenworth and, whatever. And he said, well, look, I can't keep you from putting me in jail, but I certainly can keep you from putting that blue hat on my head, and I'm not going to wear it. So on October the 10th of 1995, 550 soldiers showed up in formation, and 549 of them were wearing a blue cap at that time. It was like a baseball cap that day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, Michael, was wearing a olive drab camouflaged field cap, a regulation uniform. So he was removed from formation and placed under a restricted date. It was basically, he wasn't put in jail, but he was just restricted to the base. And he was court-martialed for disobeying this order. Now, this was one of 4 units. There was one from Norway, one from Sweden, and one from Denmark, and one from the USA. So this was a Scandinavian deployment, with 1/4 of them being Americans. And the commanding officer was a general officer from Finland, and probably a real nice guy, but he was not an American officer in command and control of these, quote, peacekeepers who were going to go into Macedonia.
Yeah, what was that? Finland. He was General Ingstrom or Ingram, something like that.
That's it. Ingstrom from Finland. That's correct.
Yeah. But no, I remember when that's when I first met you on the phone when I was at WATR AM 1320 in Waterbury, Connecticut, and I remember when I talked to you and you told me this story. It literally, I wept when I heard that. Because that was the demise of our country. If we're taking orders from the UN, that means our Constitution is null and void.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter if it's WHO or if it's the UN themselves or if it's some other international agency, the International Monetary Fund. If they can dictate our policy, then national sovereignty is ended. And that is really the big thrust right now. That is the whole thrust of every globalist entity, is to reduce nationalism to the equivalent of what we have as statehood in the USA. We can be a member state, but we have to be subject to the authority of a one-world government.
Well, see, this is what a lot of people are becoming aware of now. And, of course, President Trump is threatening to withdraw from NATO, and I think that would be a fantastic move. Oh, boy. George Washington warned us, avoid foreign entanglements. And that means NATO, it means the WHO, it means the UN, and it means Israel. Anyway.
Now you're going to go quit preaching and go to meddling.
Yeah, right. But anyway, so okay. Well, let's finish up with Michael. Now, what's his status right now? He was dishonorably discharged, correct? And that's the status?
No, he was given a bad conduct discharge. A dishonorable is worse, and that was on the table. But the jury, the panel of men there who tried the case, first of all, they were not allowed to see any of the evidence of why he made that decision. They were only allowed to answer one question, according to the court-martial, the judge, and that is, did this soldier or did he not obey the order? Because he ruled that it was a legal order before we could even challenge it. So, of course, he disobeyed the order. Of course, he was guilty of disobeying the order, but the question was why. And it's very clear in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, you are told you do not have to obey an illegal order. So that's what he perceived it to be. That's what his attorneys agreed that it was, including a former deputy director of the United States of the Marine Corps, a Marine Corps lawyer.
Okay,
well, these are guys that knew the law, and they agreed. You don't have to obey an illegal order.
Okay,
so
well, let me ask
15 minutes.
Okay, let me jump in there for a second. Let me jump in. I want to distinguish between the difference between a legal order and a lawful order. Can you explain the difference?
Oh, Dave, do that for me. I'm sorry, my mind is foggy, and I just woke up from a nap. Yeah.
Okay, well,
I can.
To the best of my ability, I'm trying to understand the difference between a legal order and a lawful order. Okay, now you've got law, and then you have legislation. Okay, so
right.
Was it a lawful order or was it a legal order? Okay, because there is a huge difference. If you're going by the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is the military law, okay, that means that a lawful order would stand precedent over a legal order. A legal order is something that is legislated. Now, I could be wrong about that. Maybe I got it backwards. But does that sound right to you?
Yeah, it sounds right. But here's the catch that they have on that. The Constitution back in the 50s was actually incorporated into the UCMJ as a part of it. So they can't have a law that's unconstitutional.
Okay, well then
they can make that law, and it may be lawful on the like you say, according to what we have here, or it may be legislated. But if it's unconstitutional, it's null and void.
Well, that's what Marbury versus Madison says. Any law that is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. But then again, they don't go by that anymore. So anyway, well, let me ask you, what's the status right now? I know we were talking a week or so ago about the possibility of having Michael being given a pardon by President Trump. What's the status of that?
Well, we are at the discussion stages. We are just now, obviously the political climate has changed radically. Oh, yeah. And we brought the subject up under Trump's first administration, and there was just no response. And so, but I think things have changed a lot, and people are, we're seeing things done that were not done in the first administration, and we're seeing, this is a different guy. Mm-hmm. And so we're discussing it. We're talking about building a team. We do have the website, and it's been down. I think it's back up, but it will be back up soon if people want to go to MikeNew.com. But it may not be completely functional yet.
Is it Is it MikeNew.com or MichaelNew.com?
No, MikeNew.com.
Okay, MikeNew.
Spell the Michael that we just gave up on that. So.
Okay.
So anyway, he's where it stands is they wanted to give him a dishonorable discharge and put him in Leavenworth prison. The jury came back and gave him a bad conduct discharge, which was a misdemeanor, and basically he was given a discharge. He lost his benefits, and he lost his career. I mean, his career was ruined, but it was a price that he was willing to pay. He loved it. I mean, he loved being in the Army, but he did not think that it was worth compromising his conscience like that to serve. Now, I wrote a letter to the Department of Defense, and before the court-martial was finished, and I said, hey, if he gets captured by the enemy, by bad guys in Macedonia, what's his status? Is he an American POW, or is he a UN hostage?
Ooh.
And they wrote back and very clearly said, in that particular deployment, if he were captured, he would legally be a UN hostage, not an American prisoner of war.
That's horrible. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, of course. Now, a year or two later, there was an incident in Macedonia where 4 or 5 American soldiers who were on the same type of deployment, just a later version, were captured by Muslim rebels. And they were held for, 2 or 3, 4 weeks. And you talk about the White House being in a dither, and Bill Clinton finally came out and declared them as American POWs. Mm-hmm. And after that, they were promptly released. But as UN hostages, they weren't moving. They're not afraid of the UN.
Okay, well, at this point, like you're saying, we got a whole new generation of folks that never heard of Michael New. They never heard of this issue. I mean, after all, it was 30 years ago. I mean, you stop and think about it. There were people who were just little children when the 9/11 attacks happened. I mean,
we're now middle-aged.
Yeah, they're now middle-aged. You got people who joined the military after 9/11, and now they've served their entire 20-year career, and they're out, and they're retired. The time goes by so quickly.
Sure does. I mean, you don't think so when you're young, but you'll realize that it does.
Oh yeah. Well, let me ask you. We already mentioned about the possibility of somehow getting in contact with President Trump and maybe offer Mike a pardon. Boy, wouldn't it be nice if they pardoned him and gave him his back pay retroactive?
Well, he'd be happy to get his benefits, and he certainly didn't then, and probably now is not interested in doing it for the money. Mm-hmm. But it's going to cost some money. We're going to have to mount some kind of a fundraising campaign, and we'll try to set that up on the website and put that information there. But But there will be a place where you can sign up for newsletters, and we'll start keeping people informed, and we're going to have to build we're starting from scratch. Mm-hmm. But social media today is not what it was when you and I started this.
Oh, yeah, I know. Finding out the hard way. I'm an analog guy in a digital world, and boy, I'll tell you, it's hard to grok some of that stuff now. So, all right. So again, is there information if people get to the website MikeNew.com? Is there information there as how they can help? Maybe some sort of a legal contribution.
There's a ton of background information there right now. They can read about the case. They can read They can actually read the text of of some of the trials that we had that we went through. We went to the Court of Appeals. We went to federal court, Court of Appeals, Supreme Court. Who refused to hear it, but we applied there. So our arguments in all of those cases, there's about 6 different cases. They can read those transcripts. They can read articles by a number of people, and they can see a declaration by Congress at the time, which said Congress passed a resolution, not a law, but a resolution saying it's wrong to make American soldiers serve under the United Nations or any other foreign entity against their will. Mm-hmm. And because that turns them into mercenaries or into, or to professional,
right.
Like Mike said when this started, he said, look, if I wanted to be a mercenary, I'd join the French Foreign Legion. I want to be an American soldier. So a lot of people understand it instinctively, and a lot of military people disagree. They say you got to obey orders no matter what. But I think that's been disproven in court over and over. You do not have to obey an illegal order. So we're going to test the waters. We're going to see if the American people are interested. And Dave, you're the first show I've mentioned this on. Once again, very close to the first last time.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that. Also, like I said, when I interviewed you that first time, and I was so moved by the story and about Michael's patriotism, it inspired me. I was not a big writer of music at all. And at the time, I had a day job. I was doing carpentry work, and I was on a break, and I picked up a little piece of scrap 2x4 and just started writing out this lyric. And I ended up writing the song called A Patch of Green in a Sea of Blue. And got that over to you, and I gave that to you to use as a fundraiser. And it actually got mentioned on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Amazing.
Yes. I hope you have time today to play that, or maybe tomorrow, but hope you can play that song for your listeners. It's inspiring music.
Well, I do have it queued up here. I didn't know if you wanted to play it or not, but we got.
Oh, yes. I never get tired of hearing that song.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we go ahead and I'll punch it in right now. And all right, folks. I'm talking to Daniel New. He is Michael New's father, and we're trying to regenerate interest into draw attention to the encroachment of the UN, the WHO, and all these other international organizations that are basically trying to take over the world. And maybe now the public sentiment has changed a bit than it was 30 years ago. Hopefully we can get a lot of people on board and say not no, but hell no to this government encroachment. And that means supporting Michael New.
Young man joined the service, thought he'd do his part. He loved his country under God, was true to his own heart. He knew he'd get an education, discipline, and growth. He had no hesitation when he gave his solemn oath. He gave a solemn oath. To my God and country, from now until the end. It's the Constitution, I swear I will defend. Foreign or domestic, these last 3 words ring true. I'm defending my country, my name is Michael New. My name is Michael New. In uniform across the sea, on soil in foreign lands, with dedication, honesty, keen eyes, and steady hands, fulfilling every duty with patriotic love, until the day an order came from officers above. From his officers above. The color of the army is a military green, but the uniform they gave to him was like one he'd never seen. His shoulder bore a UN patch, a distinctive shade of blue. No oath to a charter, to my country I'll be true. To my country I'll be true. To my God and country, from now until the end. It's the Constitution, I swear I will defend. Foreign or domestic, these last three words ring true. I'm defending my country. My name is Michael New. Yes, my name is Michael New. On Tuesday morn, October 10th, inspection of the men. By Finland's General Ingstrom, he had to look again. The traitorous eyes of officers stared down at Michael New. A single patch of green in an endless sea of blue. A single patch of green in an endless sea of blue. To my God and country, from now until the end. It's the Constitution, I swear I will defend. Foreign or domestic, that final word rings true. Yes, I'll defend my country. My name is Michael New. To our God and country, from now until the end. It's the Constitution, we swear we will defend. Foreign or domestic, that final word rings true. Yes, we'll defend our country, just like Michael New. America is watching, all eyes on Michael New. You set a fine example. God bless you, Michael New.
Well, there it is, folks. That song was written just about 30 years ago. And I remember when I was going through the lyric with you, Daniel, you said, I don't know about that line, the traitorous eyes of officers look down on Michael New. You said, oh, it should be watchful. And I said, no. It's my song,
I remember that, yeah.
My song, my lyric. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Here's the thing. It's great music, Dave, but here's the thing. A lot of your listeners may be thinking, well, that's ancient history. What is it? How relevant is that to me today?
No kidding. No kidding.
And I will tell you how it's relevant. There is a distinct possibility that within the next week or month or 3 months, that American troops may be on the ground in Israel. It was possible under Biden that they could have been on the ground in Ukraine, but they'll be there under a United Nations mandate, and there's a very distinct possibility that they will be fighting, bleeding, and dying for the United Nations and not for the USA. Now, I realize that's a complicated issue, but it's just as relevant today as it was then. There's just two sides of the same coin.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, a lot of people now, there's a huge movement going across all over the country and indeed all over the world. People are re-examining what happened in World War II, what happened with the establishment of the Zionist state of Israel. And I have to ask the question, inasmuch, and I've been banging the drum on this for quite a while now, that the Israelis have an inordinate amount of influence in our government and in the corporate world, in the entertainment world. They're everywhere. And, of course, AIPAC was originally the American Zionist Committee for Public Affairs. Kennedy was trying to get them to register with FARA, the Foreign Agent Registry. Excuse me. And they changed their name to AIPAC, and they still stand today. They are not registered as foreign agents, and that's what they are. So let me ask you this. Do you think if AIPAC and Israel has that much influence over the United States, do you believe that they have that influence? In other words, are they in control of the WHO and the UN as well?
Technically, no, because they only have one vote. But the matter of influence is that the United Nations is funded by the United States more than any other nation. And who has more influence over U.S. policy when it comes to the Middle East than Israel and
Well, you just said that
complicated. It's like an onion. There's layers upon layers here.
Well, you just said that Israel does not have only has one vote in the UN. Well, Israel doesn't have any vote in the United States Congress, but they sure as hell got a lot of money going into the pockets of a lot of senators and a lot of congressmen.
They have a whole lot of votes in the U.S. Congress.
No kidding.
But people need to realize. I was surprised just yesterday. I was chatting with someone on the internet, and they didn't know there's a difference between a Zionist and a Jew.
Right.
There's lots of Jews. Yeah, and lots of Jews. The majority of Jews are probably not Zionists.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So it's not anti-Semitic. It's not anti-Jewish to be anti-Zionist.
Yeah, I've been screaming about that for months and months and months. People have to understand that Zionism is political dogma. Judaism is a religion. They're not the same.
Not only that, the Jews who live in Israel are not Semitic.
I know.
97% of them have Slavic blood, not Jewish, not Hebrew Old Testament blood.
I covered that before. I covered that before I had you join me on the call here. The Jerusalem Post, which is the newspaper of Israel, had put out the John Hopkins University ancestry study. I already mentioned it in the show. Just like you said, 97.5% are not Semitic, and the same study on the Palestinians showed that 80% of the Palestinians are the Semites. So it's the Israelis that are the anti-Semites. And
you're right.
Yeah,
so, but we've been so brainwashed that the press has just told Americans what to think, and what do they know? They believe what they're told.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm so pissed off at a lot of the so-called alternative media out there, because they're trying to make laws now that if you complain about Zionism, don't even say Jew. If you say I oppose Zionism, they want to equate that to anti-Semitism. They've got everything bass-ackwards here. So, and
they want to take away your First Amendment right to say it.
That's right. That's right. And people, and there's so many Zionist Christians out there. I'm disgusted with John Hagee. I remember 30 years ago, he was out there screaming about the New World Order. And I was saying, hey, this guy is on it. And I don't know what happened to him, but boy, he flipped like a pancake. Now he's, support Israel and blah, 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 blah. And there's so many, because of the Schofield Bible, you know about that, I'm sure. But there's so many Zionist Christians out there, they don't even know what Zionism is. Let's have the Zionist state of Texas. All the Protestants get to go to Texas. If you're not Protestant, you have to leave Texas, leave everything behind, and when they come in there, if they find you there, they get to kill you. That's what Zionism is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's insanity.
Yeah, it's extremism, and every religion has its extremists, and Zionism is prevalent. That's the big difference. There's no, there are comparisons, but you see the extremists in radical Islam. You see some radical Christians.
Yeah, but they never talk about the radical Jews. They never talk about that.
No.
Anyway, listen, we're coming up on running out of time here. One more time, if you could give people the contact information, how can they support Michael, and how can we get Trump to give him a pardon?
Okay, it won't be long, and we'll have some way to make donations if we're going to go ahead with this legal approach. And I like the idea that maybe we could even ask President Trump to give him a Medal of Freedom or something, but at the very least a pardon. Go to MikeNew.com, and there's a box. Sign up for the newsletter. If within a few days, I hope that we'll be able to make sure that we're rebuilding that list, and people who want to know more can find out.
Very good. All right. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And now that I'm on here with the Red State Talk Radio Network, you're the first guest on this program. All right.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, that's history repeating itself. We did the same thing almost 30 years ago, didn't we, buddy?
Let's see if we can stir up the same kind of interest, because he was a household name.
Absolutely.
And, you're in Montana now. Maybe we can set up a shooting tournament and use blue hats for helmets and get some publicity.
Sounds good to me. All right. God bless you, Daniel. Say hi to Mike when you talk to him, and I'll be in touch.
I'll do it. God bless you, sir.
God bless you, too. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for today's installment of the WTF Reports. Please go to the website, TheWTFReports.com, and do business with our sponsors. God bless you all. Stay safe, And above all, stay free. Oh, okay. Are you still there?